Hello, everybody. I'm Raymond with Voice for Pest. Really excited to be here today. We are going to talk with a great partner of ours, Applause. I'm sure many of you have heard of them. And we're honored to have our Tyler Young with Applause here today. Welcome, Tyler.
Thanks, Raymond. I'm happy to be here.
All right. Well, it's good. I don't know if you're as happy to be here as I'm as happy for you to be here. So we're both happy, right? All right. But anyway, I'm not going to take up too much time with the intro. I'm going to let you kind of introduce yourself. I will say that Applause is a kind of a pioneering company that showed up in the industry a couple of years back with something that nobody else had offered. I think it's very exciting, and we're very excited to be partners. So, Tyler, it's all yours. Take it away.
Okay. Yeah, just by way of introduction, my name is Tyler Young. I am our VP of Customer Success here at Applause. I have worked in the customer success field in B2B SaaS companies for about 15 years now, in fintech, in solar tech, and now working in home services tech here with Applause. So really excited to be chatting with everybody today, talking about our partnership and integration with Voice for Pest, but also taking it back, up a little bit in a high level, just talking about motivation. I've had the chance and opportunity to manage teams for over 10 years now and work with individuals, just other customers or employees, people that I've managed. And motivation and recognition are key parts of management, key parts of running great teams, and key parts of running great businesses. So we're going to kind of take a little bit of bird's eye view, talk about that, why recognition matters today. Then we're going to start talking about CSRs and how important they are to the ecosystem of a pest control business. And then lastly, we'll talk about our integration with Voice for Pest and Applause and how that's working and what benefit that you could get out of that. So excited to dig into this with you a little bit today. So recognition, why does it matter? First, we got to start off, what drives home services teams? What are employees, what keeps them engaged? What keeps them excited about, doing their jobs? First and foremost is fair pay and job security. That might not necessarily be a motivator and maybe just a baseline expectation, but you have to have that, and that's key for all employees there. But really, what drives engagement? On the job training. People want to develop their skill set professionally. They want to be better professionals. They want to have more value to bring to the business, to other businesses, to grow and develop. That's really key. And if you're able to provide that, that builds loyalty with your team members. Recognition, not just from leadership, but also peer to peer, also from customers when you do a good job. People like to be recognized and know that they're doing a good job for what they're doing. And then also, and probably one of the most important things, HR studies show this time and time again, employees like to feel that they're moving the needle forward for the business objectives. They want to be a part of the team. They want to be a part of the company's goals and objectives. They want to feel like they're a part of the success of the business, even if it's just a little bit. Sometimes it's just a little bit. If you have even big corporations that have thousands of people, the individual contributor, maybe entry level, likes to feel like they are doing something that's helping the overall business. And what's really interesting is a study by Culture Monkey found that recognition for performance is a stronger predictor of engagement in blue collar and home services roles than in white collar jobs too. So I thought that was really interesting, is that recognition of these types of businesses and home services is really key. So let's talk about that. As your business grows, especially in peak season, the number of jobs increase, your customer expectations rise, the size of your teams grow. That growth is that's great, but it creates complexity. You can't be everywhere all at once. You can't micromanage every single call, every technician, every customer experience. That's why top performing employees really truly become your biggest asset. And the truth is, to get top performance at scale, you need systems that motivate and reinforce the right behaviors and help those employees feel seen. Without it, you're going to run into issues like burnout from just sheer call volume and just the work that's in front of everybody. Uh, Lack of real-time feedback. People don't know what's working sometimes, and they also don't know what's not working. If that feedback isn't provided, it's hard for individuals to know if they're doing a good job or not. Clear and inconsistent expectations. This leads to teams and individuals just kind of doing it their way, making up, and just their definition of good might not be your definition of good from a performance standpoint. And also limited bandwidth, right? From managers, like there's just not enough time to coach everybody across the business. So some of the takeaways here is if you're scaling your business, you need something that motivates performance without constant oversight. You need recognition systems, ones that are automated and real time. We're going to dig into that today. When employees feel appreciated, they stay longer and they perform better and take more ownership. 79% of employees say that lack of appreciation is one of the key reasons that they leave. So that's definitely something businesses can prevent. Definitely in partnership with Voice for Pest and Applause, we think we can help prevent as well. A key part of employee engagement is reducing attrition. When employees quit and leave your businesses, that the businesses really pay for that. You're not just filling filling a gap, you're filling an entire customer journey, your team dynamic, and your culture. On average, it costs about 4,000 to 800, just 8,000 just to recruit and bring in a new replacement. And it takes a while for that new person to come in, get ramped, and be fully productive and really know what they're doing. During that ramp time, quality dips, you're going to have negative reviews. There's that snowball effect of frustrated customers and overloaded team members. There's a lot of intangible cost that happens when you have attrition with the team member. Tribal knowledge is lost. Those shortcuts, those things that maybe weren't all written down that the individual is really good at, that walks right out the door when that employee leaves as well. And then the rest of the team that's left there, honestly, it can be that snowball effect. You start to see people get more stressed out. They see people leaving. Why is people leaving? The pressure goes up. They feel the weight of having to pick up that slack. It adds to kind of that negative team culture. And then in turn, really what's most important as a business is your customers are going to feel that as well. You're going to have a little bit lower worse customer experience. People might not be trained up. They're not going to be able to service the customers at the level that you want. So it's really key to make sure keep people in, motivate them, and also keep them retained and as employees and as key representatives of your business. So recognition is critical to keep teams motivated. And a lot of this is really thinking about like the culture of recognition. Do you have a culture of recognition across your teams? If you're not actively thinking about how you recognize your team right now, you need to slow down and start thinking about this, because this has a direct impact on your retention and performance and your customer experience. If you're already recognizing people, that's great. Keep the foot on the gas, but ask yourselves, how can I make it better? How do I make it more consistent, more meaningful, more inclusive? A lot of people think in home services that recognition is just a technician thing, but it's a lot more than that. It should be more part of your culture. It should be a full team effort. Your office staff, your CSRs, dispatchers, any support team members, they're all part of that customer experience. They're all part of your team. Everyone deserves recognition for good performance and high quality, high outcome with your customers. Thinking about this kind of mindset, there's a lot that we're going to talk about with specific metrics and how you can incentivize and recognize with metrics. but this is more of like a mindset and a foundation, right? There's a lot of opportunities to recognize individuals just that's just what you do. That's part of your culture. You celebrate effort. Sometimes maybe a Google review or an NPS might not come in. You can still recognize effort. Customer feedback. You should be able to provide that unfiltered, unbiased from the direct source of the customer, and we have ways that we can do that. Emotional labor. Sometimes it's just hard. Sometimes the customers are difficult to work with. You might be on a tough call. You might have long days. There's a lot of emotional labor that goes into that, and you can recognize that. And most importantly is personalizing the praise and the results. Make it specific, make it tied to, a certain, maybe escalation that was resolved, tied to a Google review, tied to, a closed, upsell with a customer. Those are key things that are really important, making it personal. But again, like I say, this is a mindset of foundation of recognition. We're going to talk about like how this all kind of ties together with applause and recognition. Now, a couple points I want to just dig into here is at applause, we've actually, this is specific to technicians in the home services space, but a lot of it, again, rings true with what motivates individuals. And in my experience in managing people over the years, this is the type of thing that these results of our survey help us get a little bit of insight to actually what motivates people and how home services employees are being recognized. I thought this was really interesting that 50% of technicians say that positive customer reviews are what motivates them to do their best work. Now, that ties back to feeling a part, like we talked about earlier, feeling a part of the business, that the work that I'm doing is helping the customer, and then it's also getting a positive Google review, boosting the reputation of the customer. That technician, that CSR, that employee can really feel it. That's a key part of what makes makes a pest control business go around, and that they're actually moving the needle forward there. A lot of people don't like to be micromanaged. They want to be trusted to independently do their work, but there's a lot that goes into that. They have to be trained up. They have to have expectation setting, et cetera. Those things that we talked about are really important. Opportunities to grow, like we said, people want to grow their skill set. They want to become better professionals. And then performance-based bonuses. Again, that quick recognition there is really key to keeping motivation for people to do really good work. So what type of rewards or incentives do people prefer the most? And we've surveyed over, I think, a couple thousand people in the home services space. If you need something that says money talks, there it is right there. Almost 80% of people say cash bonuses is what they want and what's most important to them. Again, the opportunities for promotion are key. Gift cards, I feel like I have gift cards like laying around in drawers. It's cool, I've got them, but I don't even know where some of them are over time. It's harder to use, harder to find immediate value. Now, what's most interesting here is 9% says free meal and food. That's what motivates them. Not quite as much. Or company swag. And I'm guilty of this. I've managed teams of like, okay, guys, Pizza Friday, or we got some new hats and some new T-shirts here. That doesn't work in the home services space. It's nice, but it's not really what driving performance here. So, okay, in home services, how often do people actually feel recognized for the work that they're doing? 27% say rarely or never, and 26% say a few times a month. So, on average, we from the data that we gathered, people receive feedback in the home services space about every 45 days. So they could go a whole month without receiving any feedback of what's working, what's not working, try to improve on this area. People aren't getting that feedback. They don't feel like they're recognized. They feel like they're on an island. In this type of society where we have like instant gratification, this is really eye-opening for us as we're doing this type of survey and getting these types of results, that this has got to improve, and hopefully we can help with that. So it's really interesting. So 93% of technicians say that, you know, performance-based feedback helps motivate them, but then less than 24% or 22% are actually getting daily recognition. So that's a big disparity there. Money talks, right? People, like we said, people want to be recognized with cash bonuses for their positive work. And it's not always about the amount of money either. It's that even lower bonus amounts actually can still drive that type of incentive. Make it instant. That's a key thing. I was actually reading a report from the OC Tanner. It was this big HR firm that did this culture report, and they found that teams that receive recognition within 24 hours shows 24 hours of you know, a successful metric or success show a 4x increase in engagement in the workforce, a 3x better retention, and then they double their performance. So if you wait weeks or months until you recognize someone for something positive, it does not quite have the same impact that immediate performance does. There's a lot of psychology that goes behind this, and immediate performance is really key here. And then, you know, keeping that audit historically, seeing where trends are, seeing how one, you know, maybe has had a lower score then has improved. Those types of things are really important to individuals. And then aligning the incentives to company goals, so everyone wins together there. So let's pause for a moment, and Chris, if you want to help with this, but let's get a quick poll out. Are you currently incentivizing your office staff?
While they're answering, I just wanted to jump in your last point there about immediacy. You know, I've been around, and you know, companies that you earned a bonus, it'll be on your next paycheck, right? But 2 weeks later, you get your paycheck, and everybody's got direct deposit now, and it's just, you know, a bigger number in your account, which is still nice. But it's a lot better if you're up in front of a group and they hand you a check, right? Or something, like, you know, like you were saying, like, do it right now rather than make people wait for it. I think that has a much bigger impact for sure.
Yeah, Raymond, thank you for that. Yeah, with the way that everything moves so fast these days, that immediate gratification. All right,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to see where the poll results came in. Do we see those?
Right there, at 76% said yes, 24% said no.
Okay, 24. Okay, I appreciate that. Great. Well, it sounds like a lot of people are already doing it. Let's think about, okay, what are ways that we can fine tune it and make it better? And for the 25% that aren't, hopefully this is inspiring and helping you think of some changes you can make that will help your business out. All right, so we'll keep moving in here. Thinking about, you know, our CSR teams, right? The role of the CSR is key to the ecosystem of a pest control company. It's really, it's not just like the field services teams, it's not just the technicians. Your office staff and your CSR teams are like the very first impression a lot of times, and maintain the customer relationships. It's absolutely a team sport. It's your office staff, your CSRs, all of it. That really, truly, they're the voice of the brand. If you want to deliver a 5-star service, you've got to have a 5-star performance from everybody in the role, from the business owner to the office staff to the technicians out in the field. So that's where we really want to start talking and thinking about, how do we recognize CSRs? How do we include them too in performance, engagement, immediate recognition, et cetera? They're the voice of your brand, right? Your technicians out in the field, they represent, again, a lot of times, especially in the home services space, You have one person that represents your brand, your product, and they're out in the field, send them in a truck or say, pick up this phone, and that's what represents your product. It's not quite as tangible as other businesses, and so that's super key, is that those human touch points. Really, you want to make sure that everyone has that your brand, your communication, the style of which you expect people to perform. That's what you want everyone to represent your business across the board there. And customers, right? 70% of customer satisfaction is driven on how customers feel that they've been treated by the technicians, by the CSRs, by everyone. Raymond, do you want to actually, do you want to maybe kind of add a little bit of color there? I know you've worked with the CSR teams, and
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to go back and also touch on a couple of your previous points. Here's the way I look at it is like, historically, way back, pest control, the technicians would go in the house. They knew the thing. When I first started way back, we had technicians that had routes for 30 years. There was a technician, his name was Dave. He was servicing the grandchildren of customers he had when he first started, right? Because the grandparents had kids, and then they became his new customers, and they had kids. So, and that was kind of how pest control always been. But as time has progressed, we have less and less interaction on the technician side because more services are done exterior only. And so you definitely have that relationship between technicians and customers. But in reality, it's your service team, your customer support team, that is really the ones that interact with your customers. Your customers talk to your CSRs and interact with your CSRs a lot more than their technicians, especially in today's, the way pest control is done today. Like I said, exterior services and things like that. So I think over time is what happened is there's been a lot of focus on, training technicians and, like you said, incentivizing technicians, and then also salespeople. A lot of companies have these presidents clubs and all this stuff, and they take their salespeople and their technicians and their managers, right, on these big fancy trips. But the CSRs and the admin people don't usually get a lot of opportunity to participate in that, right? So go back to the original point, focusing on CSRs and focusing on making sure they get incentivized and they get recognized and giving them opportunities to do things and improve is really important. And so, there's some ways you can celebrate your office team. You can boost your CSR through recognition. They're people too. They're employees just like everybody else, right? They want to be recognized. They want to know that they're doing a good job. So within your customer service team, create opportunities that allow you to do that. And don't always make it the top three. Your employees that do really, really well and do really, really poorly get a lot of attention. The people that come in every day and just do a solid job for you don't really, right? Top performers get recognition. People that are not doing so good, but pay attention to the people in the middle because they're the ones there every day, right? Taking care of your customers and making your business better. Create growth opportunities for CSRs. Again, technicians, you can be a technician, then you can be a service supervisor, then you can be a manager, then you can be a region director and all this. And then, on the sales side, you can be a salesperson, a sales manager. There's not as much opportunity for CSRs to move up. So try to create opportunities for them to do things like team leads, or even like, have somebody who's, we had a thing where we gave them they were a certified trainer, right? They had like a thing and they had it on their wall in their booth, and they were proud of it because they were a certified trainer. Give them opportunities to move up and do things and get recognized and have more responsibility within that customer service department. And obviously a positive workplace culture. Support your supervisors, include and have fun things. When it's somebody's birthday, go crazy, decorate their booth. Buy them all their favorite snacks. Do just some fun things that you can do for those people that are generally in the office. People are still working from home a lot, but there's ways you can include them.
Yeah, that's definitely foundational to those high functioning teams. Appreciate that. And to add to that, Raymond, is recognize what you see, right? Those positive behaviors, those positive interactions need to be recognized, and like we've talked about, needs to be quick and needs to be immediate. Like you said in the office, that positive culture, celebrate the wins, right? Recognize the top performers, recognize everyone, right? If everyone's doing real well, you can still recognize those top contributors, and again, by name, right? By name and individually. one of the things that, we also just kind of want to touch on and think about is oftentimes, you see whiteboards for technicians and, top performers and whatnot, and what their scorecards are. Applause actually helps a lot with technicians on scorecard abilities and being able to track reservice rates and whatnot. But scorecards aren't just for technicians. How are you measuring your CSRs? What does their scorecard look like? I've highlighted in bold some of the things that Applause can help out with. We can help with NPS score and call volume, and Google review and Facebook review requests, those types of things. But are you actively tracking that? Are you actively measuring? Are you actively kind of comparing your CSRs to each other? There's ways that we can help with that, and we've got a lot of people come to the table and say, I'm not doing anything with my CSRs. That's just, I'm kind of listening to some calls, putting them there at their desk, but I'm not really tracking any metrics on them. So we'll dig into that a little bit, but just think about that. And just scorecards, not just for technicians, think about it for your CSRs as well. All right, we got another question that we'll throw out here. How often are you recognizing your top performing CSRs?
Oh, we're starting off. Oh, okay, got better. We started off high on the never. The nevers were quick to respond. It's dropping down.
Raymond, I'm not seeing it on mine. Maybe if you just share out the results, that'd be great.
I will. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm waiting for it to slow down. All right, so take a guess, Tyler. What's the number one category of those four? The highest percentage.
Based on the experience that I work with, oh, there it is. I did pop up for me.
There you
Okay.
go.
So not as much as we should, 45% and 15% never. So that's about 60% would be probably not as much as we should or never. So yeah, that is I don't think like there's any like default in that, but that is consistent with what I see in working with people across pest control, lawn care, whatever it might be. That is very a consistent type of kind of, I guess, feedback that I've gotten. So, and that is a good segue into, okay, what are we trying to do? How can Applause help with that? How can the partnership between Voice for Pest and Applause help? And we're going to talk about that, because we've got some systems, we've got some integrations in place that will get you all set up and automated. And the key thing is automated here. So you can just set it up, let the technology run in the background, and start getting data and start getting performance feedback, reviews, etc. From this integration, this partnership here. So historically, what is Applause? Applause is ultimately an employee recognition platform that recognizes employees in real time through automation and in integrations with CRMs and systems like Voice for Pest. So you can see real-time NPS scores and feedback. Applause is a wallet, just like Venmo. You have access to it, real-time recognition. Employees, technicians, CSRs can actually maintain their wallet and cash out same day when they get cash. And then also competition, leaderboard, and rankings. Applause has historically been known as more of a technician software. We've seen a big change and a big pivot, and especially with our partnership with Voice for Pest, is like, okay, well, we've got that for technicians. We should absolutely be using this for our CSR teams as well. So we have a lot that we can do there on the CSR front. Okay, so our integration with Voice for Pest and Applause. You get automated feedback for CSR teams, instant recognition, and then scorecard visibility into that. The whole Applause app is available for the CSRs, and they have access to it too. And as an internal staff, we'll show this, that you actually get to monitor and recognize kind of the admin portal as well to manage and to look at your team's performance. So how does the integration work? Maybe I will just kick it over to you, Raymond, at the highest
Right.
level. You start on the voice for Pest side, and then we'll kind of continue it to the Applause side.
Right. But very quickly, I want to touch on your previous slide where it said with no admin work. I think the fact that Applause does these things and creates these great opportunities for employees without the company having to have people try to do stuff, because creating reports and tracking performance, it's a lot of work. To me, that's a huge benefit to Applause is you don't, as the employer, you really don't have to do anything. And you get all these great benefits from it. But so back to the integration. So just to give you a little background, when you think about a lot of, even today, when you call companies, you'll get that message that says, if you'd like to leave a survey at the end of the call, right, press 1 or stay on the line. And so that's a very, somebody has to actually say, yes, I want a survey. No, I don't want a survey, whatever. But there is a lot of value to getting the information. So we actually created a feature we call ACAT, After Call Auto Text. And what that service does is at the end of the call, it sends out a text to your customer and it says, how'd we do? And we created like this 5-point NPR type thing and everything else. And it worked really well. But once we realized what Applause can do and the level that they can take it, we've basically just kind of stopped selling our service and our feature and said, you know what, use Applause because you're going to get a lot better results than what we do for you. But how the integration works, there's no interruption to the CSR workflow. Information flows like it says. So what happens is when somebody calls in our contact center solution, at the end of the call, your employee can disposition or label that call, right? And when they do that, that information automatically goes to Applause. They can then send a customized, specialized message to the customer based on what that call was about, right? And it's kind of hard to see there, but this kind of shows how you go in at the end of the call, it pops up and your employee says, hey, it was this, it was that. Now, this isn't, now with AI and our X-ray platform and everything else, you don't need to disposition a call to find out what happened so you can go back and review it and stuff like that. What this does is this is getting the information immediately to Applause so they can send that out to the customer very quickly. And it's also customized. If you had a negative experience, if you had a negative call, you might not want to send them out a little text message that says, hey, how we do? Leave us a review on Google, right? So this allows you to control the message that's going out to your customers, and it's based on what the conversation is actually about, which is a very powerful solution.
Perfect. So, yeah, and so once that call is completed, that disposition is set, that immediately integrates with Applause via API connection, and we receive that call essentially has been completed, and it triggers our system if the disposition, was one of the selected ones to say, yes, we want to send out a survey after that. We will then immediately send out a text message, asking for feedback for that customer, and then we'll walk through where that text message goes. But the end customer will get an NPS request. They can put in social media reviews. They can also be prompted to give referrals to customers that may be interested. There's a lot of different ways that we can configure things. And then on the Applause side, we have our admin portal. So teams can automatically go in, look at weekly, daily statistics, monthly statistics, look at leaderboards, etc., and get feedback that way. And then the employees will all have their app. Go to the App Store, download Applause, get set up. You've got your wallet, you've got your scorecards, and you've got all the feedback coming in directly on your phone. You turn notifications on too, then you get that notification of, hey, I just got a positive NPS. Hey, I just got a bonus. Those things will start scrolling in. The psychology behind it is you get those dopamine hits immediately for that positive, your positive performance. You're seeing the recognition. Your phone is now blowing up for the great work that you're doing. That all, goes back to what we talked about earlier, immediate recognition. So let's get into maybe an example of what a customer might see. So after a call is completed, the customer would get a text message that, hey, we can customize this text message to what you'd want. Say, hey, you just interacted with, Greg over the phone. If you click here, we'd love to get some feedback. And then the second screen on the phone that the customer would see would be an NPS 1 through 10. And this is where we get a lot of feedback from customers. If it's a 0 or 1, right, you can start actioning on that. If it's a 9 or a 10, then it says, thank you. Then we'll push into the next stage, say, hey, would you like to give a Google review? Would you like to give a Facebook review? Would you like to give a referral? So for happy customers that have positive interactions, they click 10 and submit that. It then goes over to the next screen. We see a lot of our team members on the Voice for Pest integration set up like Facebook reviews. They like to send people to Facebook. Maybe technicians in the field go to Google, and the CSR teams try to go to Facebook. So we can bifurcate that out, but that helps again manage all of your social media presence and your reviews out there. In the admin portal, the managers, and whoever we designate as users that are admins will be able to go in and actually take a look at the NPS scores and the comments. So if there's anything negative, you can see that. You can pull it up by employee. You can take a look at the leaderboards. Who is leading the team? Who's getting the most reviews? Who's getting the most NPS feedback? You can also, right within the admin portal too, you can send out a manual bonus. If a team member, has great performance and says, I want to recognize this individual $10, you can do that immediately out of the admin portal and send that over to a CSR, and they can get that little ping in their wallet, and they get that in their application. Like I said, in the admin portal, you've got leaderboards and scorecards. We see a lot of people customize scorecards to be primarily metrics that matter for CSRs. Reservice rate would be one that would not be applicable, but you want to see NPS, number of calls completed in the day. You can prioritize that. That's all that the CSRs see as a part of their scorecard. And then the employee experience, like I said, is they see it's team activity. And so again, you want to be recognized by your peers. There's a running stream of, hey, so-and-so just got, a 10 NPS. So-and-so got a 5-star Google review. You can see, you hide the bonus amounts behind it. So there's a little bit of sensitivity on actual, dollar amount. You'll see your own. But you can see all the positive performance that maybe your peers are. We like this because it is a little bit of a healthy competition. If your peer just got 5 or 3 5-star Google reviews in the day and you didn't get any, you feel a little bit of that sense of urgency. It's like, oh, I got to keep up with Kristen there because she's getting a lot of Google reviews. That healthy competition is actually a really good thing. We've integrated that into our scorecard too, so you can see. This individual is, ranked 11 out of 48. I'll share actually a personal story. I had Sensky, my lawn care company, come over yesterday, and the technician, I always like to talk to the technicians because they, just because I work with Applause, but he showed me, he's like, look at this. I am number 2 out of, I think he said 500 employees at Sensky in NPS. And he was really proud. He knows that every time he comes by my house, he always shows me, but he's got his scorecard, and he was super proud to pull it up and show me his scorecard and how he's, at the top of the leaderboards there. So all of those things are all integrated. And again, that's what the CSRs would have, in their palms and at their fingertips. Raymond, I walked through that really quick. Did you have anything else to add with Voice for Pest and Applause and kind of what it would look like? And then I've got a couple, stories of some customers, but I just want to give you a chance if you had anything else there.
Yeah, no, I mean, what I'll add is, first of all, looking at that screen there, there's a lot of webinar, not meetings and discussions about recruiting and Gen Z and millennial and all that stuff. Well, if you look at that obviously is perfect for the newer generation of employee, right? The social media, it's exactly what they want. It's exactly the medium they live in, right? And when I see it, I think it's really exciting. And I know that's not specifically about the integration. I just think it's great that, like you said, their phone bings and they get this, you can have the funny pictures, and it's really exactly what the newer employees and employees of the future want. to see and how they want to be recognized. So I think it's fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah, and again, you've got to recruit it. We've got a newer generation of people coming into the workforce. We got to keep them incentivized. We got to keep them recognized for the great work that they are doing. And it's
Yeah.
I've done a lot of trainings over the years of how the workforce is just continually changing, and I'm part of it as well too. So it's really interesting that very tech forward generation is coming up and getting into the workforce here. So
I don't think plaques matter as much anymore. Like the plaques you could get on and put on. I don't think plaques are as much of a motivator as they used to be, right?
yeah,
Not quite as much. Yeah.
yeah, not quite as much. Just wanted to share with an example of a recent customer that we were working with. Again, we were talking to them about our Voice for Pest integration and highlighting that. And they said, you know what, similar to a lot of people here on this call, I don't have any goals or metrics for my CSRs. They got a team of 6, they do their thing. I hope they do a good job. But I don't really know how to manage them. So we got them all set up on Applause. We got the integration going. So the way that they configured it is that it would go to NPS, and then after NPS, it'd be some feedback, and then go to Facebook reviews. So the key goal here was to get feedback on NPS and improve Facebook reviews. So we have some logic in our background where we can send people to Facebook, we can send people to NPS, but either way, it is boosting that. And the automated bonus that was set up was $1 for every 10 NPS and $1 for every review. So every time that came in, the CSR would hit their wallet, and they'd start getting immediate cash for their top performance. So when we go in and we look and take a look at their performance, this is a pretty recent integration, but they've already got 131 reviews year to date. Their NPS is 95, which is great. And then again, between the team of 6, you can see who's at 95, maybe who's at 98, who's at like 85, and they can track that performance there. And on average, the CSRs say that they're checking about 2 times per day on their application. So they're looking at, they want to see that, they want to see their performance, they want to see that recognition. And the team of 6 has had 0 turnover year to date. So usually CSR teams are definitely a higher turnover role. To have 0 turnover year to date is awesome. It's something that we're proud of to help support this customer with as well.
That's great. Yeah, that's really good.
So, and a couple of best practices. So there's, again, Applause, there's a lot of different ways that you can configure it. And so one thing that's really important to know is I know Raymond and the team, they are there to help with the Voice for Pest side. On the Applause side, we are here to help as well. We do not just send you a software and say good luck. We've got a fully dedicated support team. We have a fully dedicated customer success team that is there for training and configuration and to advise on best practices. Some of the best practices that we see is that you definitely want to set up bonus programs and competitions. And our best recommendation would put that around NPS, reviews, calls completed, whatever it might be. You've got flexibility. You could do $1 for every 10 NPS, or you can set it up through our newer scorecard functionality. Is that once you get maybe, let's say 10 or 10 reviews or 20 reviews, we'll give you a $20 bonus. So we can also hit kind of, I guess, goals that you can set in place. Maybe for every 5, reviews that you get, Facebook or Google or whatever it might be, you get a $25 bonus. So you're really always pushing that next one. Say per month, you want to have X amount of calls completed. You can actually track that, and when it triggers, hitting that goal, that is when the cash will move, and that's where that bonus would be automated. So again, a lot of different ways you can configure it. You can do it per NPS, or you could set goals and benchmarks that people would strive to hit. And again, the key thing here is that it is all automated as well. So you set it, you forget it, and then it starts running in the background, and your team is automatically set up and running on it. So that is some of the key things. Raymond, anything else to add from your standpoint, talking about, employees, recognition, our integration, et cetera?
I just think what I would like to add is that if you're not incentivizing your CSRs, you should use applause to do it. It's gonna have a huge impact on your business. It's very easy for you as the leadership of the company to do it, and your employees will love it. There's really no reason not to. And if somebody's out there thinking, well, yeah, then I'm paying out all this money. If we go back to the very beginning and when you started talking, you said it was $4,000 to $8,000 to like just to recruit a new employee. That doesn't take into consideration all the time and money you spend training them, all the time and money the people that would normally not be training them have to train them. And I've seen tens of thousands of dollars just to replace an employee. So if you pay out a bonus of $100 a month to keep an employee, you're way ahead of the game. So I just think it's a fantastic app, and I'm just excited to be a partner with you guys. And if you're not using it, you should be.
Yeah, and Raymond, it goes both ways. If you're a Voice for Pest customer right now and you're not using Applause, love to get you set up and get you using Applause. If you're an Applause customer and you're not using Voice for Pest, you absolutely should be. It's our premier integration that we have where it's automated for our CSR teams. So definitely want to get you guys set up and hopefully getting the value out of the technology that is available at your fingertips. Let's pause for some questions. I haven't seen any questions come in so far, but definitely want to provide some time for some questions to come in as we have a few minutes here. So maybe I'll just pause for a moment. If anyone has questions, please put them into the chat.
There are 2 questions.
Oh, okay.
So the first question is, will employees see negative reviews sent in?
Will employees see negative reviews sent in? No. So we have that configured where we can set a threshold. So let's just say, 8s, 9s, and 10s are considered positive, or 7 and below would be negative. What that will immediately do is we can trigger an email to either an office admin or a manager that says, hey, if any review, or if any NPS came in, 7 or below, that'll immediately flag an email to the manager. And if they left a comment, they'll get that immediate and be able to action that. We historically, some of the logic behind that is we're more about like positive based rewards and incentives. We try not to like reinforce like negative rewards within the application. So if someone came in really low, we don't want to public shame that individual at all. We want that feedback to go to the management team and let the management team figure out how to address it and how to coach that CSR. That's a great question. Thank you.
And off of that came in another one. Can you configure it to be 1 to 5 instead of 1 to 10?
Yeah, that we've had that question before in the past, and currently no. We do have it set up in the kind of the typical NPS format in 1 to 10. So, and it might be a little bit different than maybe like a CSAT score, which is typically a 1 through 5 historically. So if you're moving on something like that to this, it might be a little bit of apples to oranges, but once everyone is on the same NPS type of methodology that we have in Applause, then everything will be apples to apples from there going forward. So you'll have like, I guess, a good baseline of comparative when you're looking at performance for CSRs.
Thank you. What phone systems does this integrate with?
Voice for Pest, one, that's for sure.
Yeah, Voice for Pest is the one we are highlighting today. I think we have a few other integrations out there. I actually don't know them off the top of my head, but if you do have other ones, please let us know and we can take a look if we have those integrations in place.
Well, this is a Voice for Pest webinar, so we won't talk about our competitors today.
Like I said, I don't know which ones they are. Couldn't either.
Next question is, what would you say is the minimum company size before Applause starts to make sense?
Yeah, so with a CSR team, I think, well, I would say we tend to see teams that have about like 5 technicians or more in the field is usually about a good size of things, of companies that work with us. Some of the reasoning in that is it is a numbers game. So when you send out text messages, not everyone clicks through and leaves feedback. Not everyone clicks through and leaves Google reviews. So if you don't have a lot of services, sometimes you're not going to see the same volume. If you have thousands of services a week, when you start actually looking through pull-through rates, you're going to see people providing feedback in NPS, providing referrals, providing Google reviews, etc. But if you're only doing, say, 100 services a week, you might not quite see the volume. So that's typically what we see as kind of a good balance and an indicator there. Now with CSR teams are a little different. There's a lot more interactions. You're having hundreds and hundreds of calls. If you're having hundreds and hundreds of positive calls, you're going to send out hundreds of text messages, and you're going to get feedback and you're going to get reviews that come in. So I say like 5 technicians because that's usually a good barometer of services. But really think about it as like number of services. The more services you have go out, the more volume you're going to get through the Applause application and kind of through the whole Applause system, the way that we're configured to get that customer feedback and customer interaction.
Okay. Where does a CSR go to request a review from a client?
Good question. So this would all be automated. So that would be the entire goal, is that, as Raymond outlined, at the end of a call, you're going to have an option to kind of set a disposition on the customer interaction. Upon that setting of disposition and the call ending, the review and the feedback will immediately get set up. So there is no manual push on it. There is no additional manual work on it. That's the whole goal, is we want this to be automated. So CSRs just need to do their job and keep at it, and then this will run in the background and start providing feedback.
Great. Does the system always ask for NPS initially, or does it also ask for a review right out of the gate? Because the technician side only asks for one or the other, so I'm wondering if that is different.
Yeah, so one thing to keep in mind, and that we're really open and transparent about, is we don't want to review gate, especially with Google reviews. That can get you in some trouble with Google. They can take down your business profiles, etc. So the answer to your question is, if you are configured and going directly to reviews, we have some settings where after when the text message goes out and says, hey, you just had this interaction, will you please leave us a Google or a Facebook review, and it will go directly to that. Or it'll go to NPS, and then behind NPS you can have referrals and other things, and we can gate there. But we really try not to gate on the social media, like Google and Facebook type of review side of things. So the answer is yes. It will directly go to Google review if you have it configured that way, and we can send a certain percentage to NPS and other things in the background.
Okay, great. Next question. We use Yealink phones with Voice for Pest, so would this be possible to use this?
You can still use it. Doesn't matter what you're answering with, whether you're answering with a desk phone, a cell phone. Doesn't matter. You can still use a desk phone, and this you'll still have the functionality where it'll automatically update and do all that stuff. So yes, the answer is yes.
Okay. How much do you see a company with 7,000 to 8,000 clients spending on something like Applause with just under 50 employees?
It does kind of determine on number of locations. So with 50 employees, you might have a few different locations, and that's typically how Applause has some of our pricing configured. If you have a number of different Google My Business locations, that's kind of where we start from a pricing perspective. So would absolutely encourage you to reach out, and we can talk about that and the discounts that we also have when you have multiple locations on the system as well.
Okay, looks like the last one. Can it be a different ratio for voice for pest or service, or does it have to be the same?
It can definitely be different ratios. So we can set it up that, again, like that one, we've got a customer that they just want the technicians to focus on Google reviews, and they have their NPS and Facebook reviews for their CSR teams. And we can have it totally different. You could have maybe 50% Google reviews, 50% NPS with technicians, and on the CSR side, you could do 80%, NPS and only 20% reviews. So you can get that really, active NPS feedback. So answer is yes, you can have that different configuration on Applause between the two different, sides of the business and two different people that are using it.
Okay, that looks like all the questions.
Right. Well, and look at that timing, 2:58, almost perfect. Well, Tyler, well, thank you so much. That was some really good information. Very exciting stuff. I'm when I first heard about Applause a couple of 2 years ago, I was a little bit like, I'm going to tip people and all that. But I think it's really just a groundbreaking tool for businesses, and I think everybody is really going to benefit from it. Their employees will love it. So thanks again, Tyler. Any parting thoughts? Anything you want to share with the group before we hang up?
No, just really appreciate it, and feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to have more conversations with you and get you set up. Hopefully start getting some value out of it.
All right. Well, everybody have a great day. Thanks for joining us, and we're going to see you later. As soon as I figure out where that end show button is, or Krista can do it for me. She's better at it than I am.